Hello there. I'm Ariel. This is Urbanist, and every month I have a special philosophical chat where you can ask me anything. Usually I discuss anything related to exploring a city. So it's mostly about travel, architecture, food, and history. But today, once a month, I offer a chat where you can ask me anything beyond those topics if you would like. So let's chat for this hour or so, and feel free to ask me anything. Let me know where you are watching from, and if you want to know a little bit about me, as you know, I've been running Urbanist for 5 years. I explore cities all around the world. I'm based in New York City, and I am a New Yorker that is from Puerto Rican descent. So one thing I do aside from these videos about history, food, and architecture is I write a lot about spirituality. I write now sci-fi fiction, and also I'm a filmmaker, and I make dance films and short films as well. So feel free to ask me anything. So hello everyone. Hello Jeanette, nice to see you here. Hello Sylvia. Hello McCulleys. Christine, Saren, Coral. Mater says, nice shirt. Thank you so much, Mater. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you think the shirt is nice. Ibrahim says, I love you, Urbanist. I'm so glad. Hello, Kay. Welcome. Manolito says, worst food you ever had on the live stream? That's a great question. So if you're wondering what the music is in the background, it is the official Urbanist soundtrack along with the Coffee Break album. I have it all on shuffle. Worst food I've ever eaten on a live video was the Great Pie Fiasco of 2021. To be honest, yeah, that was one of the worst things I experienced on the live video. In terms of outside of that, actually, I'll tell you quickly. I went to a pie shop, an English restaurant here in the Upper West Side. I'm not really going to say their name because this show is really not about bashing restaurants or even critiquing restaurants is not really my thing. But if you're one of the few lucky ones who saw it while it was live, you know that the pie I ended up getting was absolutely horrendous. It was one of the worst meat pies I've ever tried, and I'm still traumatized to this day. However, one of the worst things I've also tried on live video in terms of a food that I found out that I didn't like, not because of the quality, but just because I found out that I just don't like the taste. It was in Helsinki. I did this wonderful food tour with an Australian food tour guide who was based in Helsinki, and she's just absolutely in love with food, and she took me all around the city. We went to a supermarket, we went to a bunch of restaurants, we went to a beer brewery, we did all these wonderful things. However, in the supermarket, she stopped by a licorice stand, and licorice is a very popular thing in Finland. Especially very black licorice, super black licorice. And if you ever try black licorice, it's not for everyone. And especially Finnish black licorice was so strong. It was one of the first times caught on video, and this was back in 2017, that you can see a visible look of disgust in my face. So yeah, that was one of the worst food experiences. Hey Vasilios, nice to see you here. Hello Gary. Hello Wendy. There's a lot of food, a lot odd food in Finland. Well, that was just the licorice. I actually really loved the food in general in Finland. I was absolutely obsessed. Like I would return to Finland just for the food. There was a lot of good food there aside from the licorice. Susie asked, here's a question for you. If you had to win a £1 million, what would you buy first and what would you buy last? Great question, Susie. So What would I buy first? If I had £1 million, £1 million is almost the equivalent of $2 million. So I would get. I would honestly invest it right away. I would start investing my money. I already am a stock market investor. Um, so I would just go straight into investing. But beyond that, I would actually invest in Urbanist. So I would maybe make some interesting kind of piece of merch, maybe produce another album, or use part of those 2 million, not of course the entire thing, but maybe a few tens of thousands to produce a show, to produce a high quality kind of Netflix quality show. I would do so. And I actually already have two shows in mind. I would either do a show about world religions, and each episode is about different religion. And it's not about the politics of the religion. I don't want to talk about anything about that, or even the dogma of the religion. I want to talk about the aesthetics, the rituals, the kind of the vibe of religions. I'm very fascinated by that. As you can tell, I visit a lot of churches and religious structures. Any religious structure I could get into, I love going inside. And the other type of show I would do is a show about what if history is much older than we think it is? That's the question I want to ask, and I want to see if I can find any answers. What if history is much older than 5,000 years old? Written history, civilization. So I would immediately spend money on that. And the main reason I've actually been doing a lot of thinking about that specifically is, to me, I rather spend my money in assets, in things that provide value to others. I rather spend money to build my show, build entertainment that provides fun and education and joy to others. I really rather spend my money immediately on that. I would say the secondary thing I would spend that money on is on travel, but to be honest, it wouldn't be travel just for me. It would be travel to just make more videos. That would be my prerogative. I would just travel very comfy. I would go to like the top Airbnbs and have amazing penthouse views, but I'll also make videos of those penthouse views. So yeah, that's what I would spend money on. Every stream you already give immensely to others. Says Ronan. Oh, yes, Ronan. I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, I would just, if I had the moment I end up getting more and more money, I would just reinvest into Urbanist, reinvest into what I love doing, which is providing entertainment in various ways. I will also produce my own movies as well. SJ says, what stocks are you investing in right now? I am investing right now in two main things. I'm investing in Tesla. I am very bullish on Tesla. I really think it's a very interesting company. I don't agree everything with Elon Musk. To me, he's not like, some people think he's like some kind of divine being. He's some hero. I'm not quite that kind of head over heels over him, but I do admire his ingenuity. And I admire what Tesla's doing in terms of their technology. So yeah, I'm investing in Tesla. And I also invest in a technology called genomics, which is gene editing. There's a lot of like negativity with gene editing, but one great thing about that type of technology is that it could very well be the cure for cancer. And I am putting all my money, all my money that I use for investment, a good chunk of it, into that. And the reason I'm doing, one of the companies I admire is called CRISPR. CRISP. And I actually don't care about investing specifically by the numbers. I care more investing about the people behind it. And the woman who made CRISPR, her name is Jessica Jessica Dina, something along those lines. And she ended up getting the idea for CRISPR, which is gene editing, on the trip to, and she talked about this in various interviews. She got the idea on the trip to Puerto Rico while she was hanging out with a fellow scientist. And she was out in La Paseo de la Princesa, which is this beautiful kind of boardwalk along the old fort in El Viejo San Juan. And she's not Puerto Rican, she's American, but she was vacationing there. And as she was strolling with this fellow scientist, they were talking about genes and things like this, and the idea came to her. Like, what if you can take this protein and that can help with adjusting genes, so potentially you cure cancer. And that story just kind of just blew me away. This is the type of stories I love, is when people say that they came up upon an idea by happenstance, by serendipity, by having a wonderful moment. I really don't care for the people who are like, I crunched the numbers and I found out this works. No, I love the inspiration. So let me say hi to a few people. Hey, we got $40 super chat. Whoa. Hey, Paul PP. Paul, thank you so much for your $40 super chat. That's very kind of you. Love your channel. Here's to capitalism. Indeed. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that super chat. Thank you. There's a lot of cool things about capitalism. There's some things I disagree with, but awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hey, Aya Vlogs. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Ibrahim. Mags. Nice to see you here. Raynette Adka. Hey, Raynette. Nice to see you here. If you couldn't live in New York City, where you live? London would be my number one place. Hey, Panajotis, nice to see you here. Check Planeteer. Oh, cool. I'll look into them. Planeteer. Thank you so much for the recommendation. I think Panajotis was referring to a company. You put a lot of time into research. Yes, Ibrahim, I do. So, I want to shout out. Keep asking your questions, and I will get to them. I want to shout out Laureen has been gifting me a few awesome books about a particular city that I am very keen on covering soon. So stay tuned. If you can read in reverse, you'll know what this is. No set plans yet, but it's looking good. We're getting a lot of patrons, so if we reach a Patreon goal of 75 people on patreon.com, I will be covering this particular city that is in the middle, basically in the middle of nowhere. I'm very curious about that. 1 million people in the middle of an ocean. The other thing I want to give a shout out to Mater and Raynette by extension for Rocks and Minerals. This book, a DK handbook, it's great because I'm learning a lot about rocks, which is very necessary because I talk a lot about architecture, and a lot of stuff about architecture usually involves about the material. So thank you so much, Mater. And Mater has gifted me a bunch of other books, a few books about New Orleans, which might be another place I would love to cover at some point. And people are very curious about how do I research. So I have a few books on Mexico. So I'm reading about the great apparitions of Mary, the Virgin Mary. And inside this book, there is the story about Our Lady of Guadalupe. So I'm learning a lot about Marian apparitions because it's going to be a really fun story when I go to the Basilica of Our Lady Guadalupe in Mexico. I'm also reading Secret Mexico. This is where I really find my kind of like small little spots. And I love this book series. Find all these little spots. I have the DK Eyewitness book of Mexico itself. Really good informational book. But the real, actually, I have another book. I'm reading my own aunt's book about Frida Kahlo. My aunt actually wrote an amazing book. She's one of the leading experts on Frida Kahlo in Latin America. She hasn't translated the books in English, so she's mostly in the Spanish language. She's one of the leading experts in Frida Kahlo. So she's an amazing woman, and I am excited to read this book. Let me show it to you. Nope, this is my camera and my air conditioner. So my aunt wrote this book about Frida and her life, and it's pretty in-depth, and it's very beautifully set and everything. And here's Frida's paintings, or this is Diego's paintings actually. And yeah, she covers a lot about her influences specifically. Frida Kahlo y la Revolución Mexicana, which means Frida Kahlo and Mexican Revolution. Why is it in reverse? Because on the iPhone, it reverses the image. Now, the real book I'm reading is this one. This is La Capital, the biography of Mexico City by Jonathan Kandel. So I'm doing some light reading, just some light reading, you know, for when I go to Mexico, so just light reading. What's my aunt's name? Her name is Frances Ortiz. Frances Ortiz. Frances Ortiz. I'm doing some light reading here. No big deal. No big deal. You know, I just want to know just a little small detail, a little few details about Mexico City. Just a few details, not much. It's not like 600 pages worth of details or anything. It's funny because I've gotten very few comments. People, I mostly ignore these comments, but I find them now more humorous than ever. When someone says, "Oh, you should read more. You don't know your history," or they say, like, "Oh, you don't even bother reading anything. You're just spouting random things." I'm like, "All right, sure. If you think that's what I'm doing, all right." Go watch a history lecture then. Go get yourself a history degree if you think I have nothing. I'm literally giving nothing in my videos. Are you a speed reader, says Joseph. No, not really. No, not really. I do take my sweet time reading. If you had a nationality apart from American, what would you pick, says Gary. Gary, if it, just same answer as the question earlier about Christina. Thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it. $5 super chat. Appreciate it. If I didn't live in New York, I would live in London. If I weren't American / Puerto Rican, I would be English. It's a bit weird, but I would be English. I would love it. I think it would be cool to be raised in England. I know you will cringe, but having avocado toast from Dunkin' Donuts, says Susu. Oh my god, Susu, you're having an avocado toast from Dunkin' Donuts. Oh my god. I gotta try at least once. Let me know how it is. Charlotte, nice to see you here. Do you research before you do your walks and kind of refresh your knowledge, or do you just recall it all, says Rob? So I do two types of videos, Rob. I do history, two main live videos. History videos, history tours, or like it could be like a tour. So it could be history, it could be architecture, it can even be a tour about food, but it's the tour, so there is history in it. So tours, and I do wanderings. And wanderings, it's not really targeted in specific history or specific places I'm going to visit. I'm just generally going to a place spontaneous. For the tours, I do research, so that's the point, is to research and give you something very specific amount of stops, go to specific places, and give you specific stories. So I do research for that. Wanderings, I generally don't, unless maybe I want to kind of maybe talk about one thing. Maybe I'll research like the history of like avocado toast, and then kind of just cover it in the wandering if it works. Everything on the wanderings is pretty much from recall, so that's why I tell everyone to do your own research. So, as I mentioned, I don't carry a phone. I don't carry a additional device. I'm not referencing Wikipedia during my videos. Not that there's nothing wrong with that. It's just for me, I rather say what I recall, and to me, it's good to just have a conversation. So when it comes to these wanderings, I say do your research, but I will be telling history from what I recall. Yeah. So yeah, it's off the top of my head. To do private tours, yes, urbanist.live/tours. Jane, great question. Jane, thank you so much. Yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I do private custom tours. Gary says, how keen are you to getting married? Keen. Gary. So I do believe in marriage. I really like the idea of marriage. It seems like a very nice thing. I do. I also enjoy the kind of the celebration of it. It's very nice. So I would be down. I would be down. Art says, where did you grow up? In New York City, Jackson Heights, Queens. Jackson Heights, Queens, which is one of the most diverse places in the world. 120 nationalities are represented there. When I grew up, there was a few older Irish Americans. I went to Catholic school, so there was a few Irish Americans that were nuns as well. Very few Italian Americans, but mostly in the 90s, it was a lot of South Americans, Mexican Americans, and there were also Indians, Bangladeshi, Pakistanis, and Filipinos. So I grew up mostly with those ethnicities. I was actually one of the few Puerto Ricans in school. The rest were mostly South American. Have you visited Canada? Yes, Canada Walks. Hey, yeah. I've done I did like 4 or 5 days in Montreal. I was actually invited up there for the International Jazz Festival. It was really awesome. I got like inside access. It was really fun. Check out on Facebook, search the Montreal playlist. Charlotte says, when you come to the UK, have you got any particular tours planned? Yeah, in the UK, I would love to do Stonehenge. I would love to do Edinburgh Castle. Top. I would love to do a tour of the Highlands. I'm not sure how to do that. Maybe there is a spot to talk about the history. And let me highlight Jackie's question because she has a great question. Before I continue, I'll tell you a few more spots on UK. I would love to do a tour of the town featured in Hot Fuzz, which I actually don't know what the town is yet, but Hot Fuzz is one of my favorite films of all time. It's directed by Edgar Wright, and it's about a hotshot police officer from London who is too good in his job, giving everyone else a bad rap. He's played by Simon Pegg, and because no one really likes him in London, they send him to some small town. They transfer him to some small town. And the small town has the perfect, impeccable record, so there's no crime, at least seemingly. Check out the movie. It's one of the best movies, I think, ever made. One of the funniest movies as well. Jackie says the question about marriage goes back to my question of how do you approach in setting boundaries to what you regard to share with yourself. It's a struggle, and do you have definite rules? Says Jackie. Jackie, great question. Yeah, I am a public-facing individual, so I'm making videos online. So this is going to be different for someone who's not public-facing. If you're not really making videos, or you're not like some type of like CEO or executive, or like a radio personality or some type of like known artist, you're probably having a different experience from this. But yes, I do have my set boundaries of what I don't talk about in my own personal life. I do value certain things about my privacy. So that's why sometimes I refuse to answer questions. But that said, how do I determine those boundaries? For me, the show on Urbanist is about the history, the walking, the exploration. So I rather not give any details of my own life that would impede on that. So that's basically the way I think about what I talk about my own personal life and share. I think also boundaries are kind of a momentary thing. You feel it on the gut level, whether you should say something or you shouldn't. It doesn't mean to be secretive. It doesn't mean to be hidden. I think if you go with those intentions or to do it out of fear, I think boundaries are important in any regard. It's important to have boundaries. Maybe in your personal life, maybe in a relationship, maybe in family, maybe in professional workplace. It's good to have your boundaries and be comfortable and be okay with your boundaries. Everyone's boundaries are different. And it's okay to say out loud, hey, these are my boundaries. Urbanist, my boundaries are, aside from this philosophical chat, is that we talk about exploring cities. That's the general gist of the show. And I established those boundaries to make a more focused show. How do you feel about losing your anonymity as a YouTuber, as Cons? So I've been pretty public facing for already about 12 years at this point. I had a fairly known music blog on Tumblr, at least here within New York. So I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I did have people have been approaching me already for 12 years randomly in the street. When I had my music blog, I was spotted many times in New York, and I was spotted even in London, and one time I think it was when I went to Las Vegas. So I've been spotted many times. So I've been public facing for already 12 years. By no means I'm nowhere near like celebrity status or kind of mainstream. I'm not as famous as like Anthony Bourdain was, or Rick Steves is, for example, or some type of hot top shot director like a Steven Spielberg. I'm nowhere near those guys. But for me, I just got used to it. And luckily, it's been a very slow growth. And I'm very grateful that I did not explode in popularity out of nowhere. Because exploding in popularity nowhere is kind of a little bit of a shock. You have to really suddenly, a lot of people know you. You have a lot more responsibility, because the bigger the audience, the more people are seeing you, the more ability you have to reach more people, the more responsibility there is in who you are, what you say, and what you do. It's not a bad thing, but it's a responsibility. It's like being an executive in a company. The responsibility is different, of course, but you're still having more responsibility. It's like being a famous author. Sure, you're writing fiction, like a Neil Gaiman, but Neil Gaiman has millions of readers. He has a responsibility to those readers. He can't really mess up. He can't, because you lose trust of your audience if you don't live up to those responsibilities. Have you been, or do you want to visit Central Europe? Yeah, I 100% really want to do specifically Budapest and Vienna. I went to Budapest before I started Urbanist and loved it. Absolutely loved it. I love the Hungarian culture. Hungarian people are just amazing and hilarious human beings. It's a culture similar to English culture in terms of their sense of humor. There's a lot of dry humor. There's a lot of puns as well. So, and I'm a fan of that type of humor. So when hanging out with Hungarians, it just felt really awesome. Also, Hungarians really like to drink. So it was really fun just going out drinking and just meeting a bunch of people. So yeah, it's a really fun city. I can't wait to go back. But Prague, yeah, maybe Prague. I think if I go to Prague, I'll probably cover it in like 3 or 4 days. It wouldn't be too much. Hey, Edgar, sigue para adelante, mijo. Fue lo mismo ver a estar en el Travel Center. Oh, qué bien, Edgar. Gracias por mirando. Edgar says, keep going on. I'm glad you're doing stuff in the travel world. Gracias. Lo agradezco. Puedes preguntarme cualquier cosa en español. Are you looking forward to growing older? Asked Vish. Vish, am I looking forward to growing older? Yes, I am. So one thing I always, one like vision in the back of my mind for years. I've always envisioned myself to be this kind of guy in his very late age with a long white beard, telling stories to people, and just kind of. I love telling stories, and I love having that look of dazzlement, of marvel, of awe in people's eyes. I love that. I love that feeling. I love experiencing that in person as well. So just one vision I have in my mind is being very, very old, like 80s or 90s or even more than that, and just kind of telling people stories for fun and just dazzling people. Yeah. You know, there's a certain allure to being that older gentleman telling stories, talking, making things. You know, it's really interesting. Sounds like an ancient philosopher. Yeah, it's like a Confucius or like a Lao Tzu or Alan Watts. Even though he died pretty young, though he was like in the 60s, but he still gave off that vibe. So yeah. I look forward to growing old, specifically for growing a white beard and telling people stories, having life experience to tell people stories. If you're from the late 90s, you're not that old. No, I'm not, Ibrahim. Was Alan Watts a drug user? Yes, he was. Psychedelics, and he consumed a lot of alcohol. He consumed actually a lot of alcohol before his talks. So he used usually wine to kind of loosen up before a talk. I absolutely look up to him, but that's the one aspect I would not repeat from him is consuming any type of drug in order to loosen up on camera. I'd rather do it as naturally as possible. Or not on camera, but like in front of a stage or in front of people. So how old am I? I'll let everyone know I'm in my early 30s. I'm in my early 30s. What's your thoughts on speculative realism? What do you mean by that, James? What does that term mean? Speculative realism. I think walking in the medieval city of Bruges would be heaven for you. Yeah, I would love to go to Bruges. Yeah, that'd be really cool. I'll probably end up covering Kilkenny first, which is a city similar to Bruges. Old medieval city. Ariel looks so young because he also walks 10 times more than anyone else. Squidward says, "Well, I thought you were 27." It's all the walking. It's all the walking, and the New York City water. New York City water. That combination, walking in New York City water. It's a life changer. What's the oldest street you've walked on? That's a good question. I think the oldest street I've walked on is in the Pantheon, walking towards the Pantheon. That should be the oldest street. Yeah, that should be the oldest street because it's 2,000 years old. I haven't walked through anything older. Pompeii? Yeah, Pompeii predates a little bit. The Pantheon. Okay, so Pompeii would be the oldest. Yeah, because Pompeii predates the Pantheon about 70 years or something like that, or a little bit more, 100 years. So yeah, Pompeii, Pantheon is very close. I actually also went to the Acropolis, so that might be the oldest, but not on video, because that was before I started Urbanist. So I hope to go to the Acropolis, and that'll be amongst the oldest. If not, then the Great Pyramids, so at least the road leading up to it would be the oldest. And then if I want to go even older, I would have to go to the ancient ruins of ancient Sumeria. Yeah, I think that would be really, really cool. Hey, Jackie says, yeah, I win the quiz. Ariel never gets old. He was streaming, oh, sorry. He was streaming as the first immigrants were here. Yeah. That's funny. Ronald. Carlitos dice, mentiste, es imposible que tú eres en los 30. Pareces un adolescente. Carlitos says, I appear like a virgin teenager. Carlito, yo no parezco tan joven a ser una adolescente virgen. Por lo menos en los 20s, pero no tan joven. I don't appear that young to be a virginal teenager. María dice, ¿qué preguntas que tienes? What crazy questions you're getting. Stony, what's the oldest building in New York? The oldest building in New York is the house at the corner of Brownsville and East New York. It's an old Dutch house, if anyone can remind me of the name. Have you been to New Zealand? No, not yet. I can't wait to go. I really do want to go to New Zealand. What's your favorite philosopher? My favorite philosopher would be Alan Watts. Alan Watts. Absolutely my favorite philosopher, and also one of the top people I look up to in terms of speaking, telling stories. What's your favorite Puerto Rican dish? Cooked by your mom. My mom makes a mean fricassé de chuleta, which is basically in English it's like a pork gumbo. Almost, kind of. It's really good. I'm not sure how you say fricassé in English. Will you be doing any cameos in Mexican telenovelas, says Ronald. No, Ronald. No voy a ser ningún telenovela. ¿Por qué, María? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué comiste todo el queso, María? White Cough House. Thank you so much, Jacob. White Cough House is the oldest house in New York. What camera do you use? I use various cameras. I have this one, Sony ZV-1 for vlogging, for some type of sometimes HD live streaming. I use the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I have a tiny DJI Pocket. I also have an Insta360 One X2 as well. Susie says, bravo, natural Mexican. What's your favorite British band? You know, I would say right now my favorite British band, my favorite British musician would be David Bowie, I think. He's the one that really blows me away. Though I do have a British band. I just, off the top of my head, I can't think of anyone. But I have a few British indie rockers that I really enjoy. Canción favorita, pregunta María. Una canción mía más favorita es Sweet Disposition por The Temper Trap. One of my favorite songs of all time, asks Maria, is Sweet Disposition by The Temper Trap. Check it out. Really good song. Your thoughts on Oasis? I haven't listened to too much Oasis, though someone else asked, who was it? Floyd, Pink Floyd. Yeah, I love Pink Floyd. That I do, Scott. The Dark Side of the Moon is one of the best albums ever made, period. Do you know much about Bowie's time in New York City, says Hans. Hans, yes, I was actually paid, literally paid. I was literally sponsored to learn all about Bowie's life in New York City. It was a great urbanist sponsorship by Sennheiser, great audio company. And they wanted a video about David Bowie in New York because they had an exhibition in the Brooklyn Museum that they were providing the audio equipment for. And yeah, I literally got paid to learn about David Bowie. It was absolutely amazing. James asks, am I afraid of going bald? No, not necessarily. No, not necessarily. James. I am very grateful that I have good genetics and a good hairline. I'm grateful for that, but, you know, nature is nature. You go bald. And the thing is, I was very I'll tell you this. I was very stunned when I went to Italy. I did Rome on Urbanist back in October 2019. And here in America, a lot of men who go bald hide it. They wear caps. If they're a hipster, they wear like fedoras or beanies. And then if they're very rich, they start getting hair transplant surgery. I have a friend who is very well off, and he does that. He gets hair transplant surgery. And yeah, you know, there's a shame here in baldness. But when I went to, or they the balding person shaves it off completely and gets very buff because they want to compensate from the balding with bulgy muscles or maybe a huge beard as well. But I was stunned in Italy that I did not sense that self-consciousness. I saw so many men who were balding, different patterns back here, you know, sometimes they bald here, sometimes they bald here, sometimes they bald here, you know, male baldness goes in different ways. And sometimes you don't even bald completely. It recedes all the way back here and stops. Look at Tom Ford, the famous designer. He was afraid he was gonna go fully bald and basically stopped like over here. So he has a crazy receding hairline, but he didn't go fully bald. And he's now like in his 50s. So in Italy, the men weren't hiding it. I did not see men hiding their baldness. They just left it. And they did not shave it completely. They did their thing. If they had a bald here on top, which many men in America would be very embarrassed by, generally, I'm generalizing, of course, they typically would kind of shave it or kind of cover it. but I did not see that in Italy. They just rocked it. They left their hair, they left everywhere else long, and just rocked it. I really appreciate that. I really did appreciate that. So going to Italy made me feel way more comfortable. If whatever happens, happens. Just embrace it. If I go bald, there's the opportunity to grow a bigger beard. Male pattern boldness does not have a set pattern, says Ian. Yeah, no, it doesn't. Comb overs are hideous, says Susie. Yes, I think they're not the best style. Yeah, I think not. The Vin Diesel look, yeah. Reverse mohawk. Indeed. Have you ever been to Spain? Yeah, I did a week in Madrid, and absolutely loved the food. I didn't find the city too interesting. The history was really depressing from my perspective, but I did really deeply enjoy the food. It was fun. Album that changed your life. The Avalanches, Since I Left You. That album absolutely changed my life. I can't really explain why. The song itself, the song that the album is titled after, Since I Left You, I listened to it during a time where I had a breakup. And basically the gist of the song is how since the breakup you feel so free. That's like the main lyric. So that's how I felt with that song. It helped me through a breakup. But the rest of the album, it was just this entire experience. And the album is sampled, I think, from over 70,000 pieces, tiny little pieces, old songs, old TV shows. There's no original instrumentation in that album. It's all put, chopped up from other songs and put back together to make a completely original experience. And the Avalanche is actually one of the main inspirations for the Coffee Break album that you're listening to right now. Coffee Break album is a bunch of pieces from the original soundtrack remade into new music. And it showed me the power of remixing, re-editing, doing things new from something old. Joseph says the men who get bold in the front are good thinkers. The men who, with boldness on the top, are good lovers. That's funny. Hey, Mirav, thank you so much for 50 stars. I appreciate you. How could someone break up with someone handsome like that? Says Gautier. I appreciate that, Gartier. I appreciate that. Have you listened to David Benoit? No, I have not. I have not, Ronald. I'll check him out. Sil, nice to see you here. Hey, welcome. Hope work is all well. I know you haven't been able to see videos, but I'm glad you're still tuning in. Sil says, I love philosophy. What's your favorite main idea from Watts? Most philosophers are known for their unique ideas. So for Alan Watts, my favorite idea, the thing that really stuck out to me first, Alan Watts has really great ideas, but it always boils down to one thing. We are all one, and we're never truly separate from one another. That's basically the main idea he talks about. And if you listen to any philosopher, especially the ones that are very spiritual, that's the main idea. We are all one. There is really no separation. But the idea that really struck out to me first in Alan Watts in a very practical way was his talk about money and making money and the career. And he has this wonderful kind of anecdote of saying like, so you spend 20 years going to elementary school and high school to work on to get better college degree, and then you work on your college degree to get better work. And then you go to work for a few decades so you can finally have the time off to retire and do your thing. But then you realize that you're 65 years old and you're like, yes, I am here, but you're too old to really enjoy it to the fullest. I'm really paraphrasing here, but let's search his talk about money. But basically, the gist he was talking about was, why are you working? Why are you so obsessed with money, or so obsessed with working to retire? And he was kind of challenging that idea. Should we be working to live, or should we live to work? And it kind of changed my perspective, because it showed me there's only this one life. I'm only Ariel once. At least from this perspective. I'm only Ariel once. So why not be the best Ariel that I want to be? Why should I be someone working for someone else? Or to enrich some other person? Why should I be working to fulfill someone else's creative vision but have no stake in it? I want to live to work, not work to live. That's my own choice. So everyone chooses differently. There's no wrong path, of course. We all learn our different lessons in life. But for me, I found it very inspiring to quit my 9 to 5 and follow my own passion of telling stories, exploring, and history, food, and architecture. I love those things, and I'm glad that I found a way to live to work, where I am traveling, going to Mexico in a week. And in essence, my work is my vacation is my work. And it's not just about the travel here in New York as well. You know, going to the Bronx or Upper West Side or the Empire State Building, to me, that is what I love to do. It's absolutely wonderful. Robert, do I ever smoke 420? Robert, I do, and I don't do it habitually, but I do intend at one day covering the coffee shops of Amsterdam or going behind the scenes in Denver. I do indeed. I do intend on making an educational tour revolving around cannabis at some point. It has a very fascinating history. Very, very deeply fascinating history. Jason sent 100 stars. Hey, thank you so much, Jason. I appreciate that. I think there's a general confusion between purpose and wealth accrual. We all need a place to live, food to eat, but with wealth accrual, it could be much more than that. Look at philanthropy. Yeah, you know, Alan Watts does not really, he does talk about this, but I've learned this from other teachers and just in my own life. Real wealth isn't linear. So making $3 billion isn't related to working 3 billion times, right? 3 billion times more than someone who worked for $1. It's not linear. So think about this. Why do I choose the number 3 billion? Because some of the hardest workers in the world are some of the poorest individuals. And that might be due to many different reasons: economy, distribution of wealth, distribution of salaries, a bunch of reasons. But some of the hardest workers in this world are some of the poorest. People who do very heavy construction projects in the middle of some Asian country, or people who toil the farms in the middle of Africa, or people who make our clothing in some far off garment factory in Bangladesh or something like that. They are some of the hardest workers in this world, and yet the wealth that they have acquired is not directly relational to the amount of work. And yet again, a dude ended up writing a movie about space wizards fighting basically space Nazis with a cute little green alien, and he ended up making $3 billion. Do you know who I'm talking about? Well, not directly $3 billion. He worked a little bit more. He ended up making 6 movies and like 2 cartoon series and some artwork, some merchandise, and ended up getting $3 billion for space wizards fighting space Nazis. I shouldn't say the word N-word too much because YouTube might get alert. But it's Star Wars, yeah, George Lucas. George Lucas wrote a movie about space wizards. He did it with a team, but George Lucas himself is worth $3 billion for writing a movie about space wizards with light swords. You could say he definitely worked hard. You know, he definitely wrote the script and he directed and he thought about the business plan. He was really intense into the minutia of the visual effects. So he definitely really worked hard. But I wouldn't say it's directly relational, because the work he ended up doing wasn't necessarily work in terms of arduous, grinding, hard work. There might have been moments for him during his career that were like that. But the reason he really made so much money is because he gave so much value to the world in terms of entertainment and in terms of joy, awe, inspiration. A movie about space wizards is extremely important to the world, as important as a shirt, as important as a train infrastructure, as important as a skyscraper or a house, as important as our water systems. I think a film about space wizards does provide deep value to people, and it's no wonder he made $3 billion. Not that many other people have made great movies about space wizards that have brought so much awe and inspiration to others. So, that said, I think the true path to success in terms of wealth, in a very materialistic, in a very practical way, I think the key to success is providing value to others, giving to others. If it's all about me, then you probably won't be nowhere near as wealthy as someone who's giving. So sure, you can reap the massive benefits. Definitely, George Lucas reaped, $3 billion worth. He has huge mansions. He's built his own studio. The man doesn't need to work. He reaped so much benefits from it. Sure, you can reap the benefits. That's okay. But the point is, he provided a lot of value to others. And same thing with almost anyone who finds a very strong success. But the key is to give value in a way that's new, innovative, smart, and what people are actually want to pay for. So people are willing to pay for entertainment. So, and for toys and for cartoon series. So that's why he really did end up giving deep value to the world. A vlogger like Logan Paul, I might disagree with him. I might not want to be friends with the guy. Not necessarily. I don't think so. But he's providing value to people because he makes millions of people laugh. Millions of people relax after a hard day's work, sit down and watch some goofy guy doing pranks. And he does it really, really, really well, the way he does it. So that's why he's reaping all this benefit. Logan Paul's not all me, 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 necessarily. He's giving so much. So I think that's the key. I think if you change your perspective in that regard, things will start changing. You'll start seeing the benefits of your work. So for me as a content creator, I have a lot of content creators. I've met a lot of content creators who are around the same level as me or lower. And they are very focused on how do I get more subscribers? How do I get more money? How do I establish a passive income? How do me. That's why I hear when I talk to some of these content creators. They're wanting to make content for them, for me. They're not making content for others, and that's why they're not getting that success, because they're focused on them. They're focused on themselves. It's not a bad thing to share your love, your passion, your awe, your joy, your fascination. It's a beautiful thing to share it. Beautiful thing to share it. So honor that part of you, but take whatever is inside you and give it out there. Give it. Offer it. Problem is, a lot of people are always focused on how can I get? How can I get? How can I have more subscribers? How can I have more money? How can I have a bigger house? How can I have a better car? How can I have a better spouse? How can I have a better something? What are you giving? Because this world, this earth is extremely abundant. It's extremely abundant. Yes. There's more than enough food in 2 or 3 states in the US America to feed the entire world. There's enough grain in a few states of America to feed the entire world. Logistically, it is possible. But we don't do it because we all have these different systems in place. And these systems, some of them are to our benefit, and some of them are antiquated and to our detriment. But the point is, this world is truly, deeply abundant. If we were living in a world of scarcity, it would be a very different life. It's impossible to think that this universe is scarce when life grew on a tiny blue rock in the middle of a gigantic galaxy. Out of all the odds of being struck by massive asteroids as we're hurling more than hundreds of thousands of miles per hour through the galaxy, we are still here. Despite the chances of having so much different flora out there that can poison us, berries that could poison us, nuts that have no nutritional value. Yet we found those nuts, we found those berries, and we found those fruits and cultivated them and grown them and made them better. You're about to learn in Mexico, when I go there, I'm going to tell you about the history of maize, of corn. They took teosinte, which is a tiny little, basically it's the ancestor of corn. It's very small. It's like this small. And the kernels are this tiny. One kernel of corn today has more nutritional value than the original teosinte plant. And yet, due to human ingenuity, due to the power of our minds, the power of our ingenuity, of our creativity, and our patience, we end up taking that teosinte plant. It might have taken a few generations or hundreds of years, but we made a product, corn, that has provided not just food, but fuel, plastics, countless different things. It is marvelous how much abundance we have. We just gotta use our creativity. A man with an empty piece of paper and a pen wrote about a space wizard and made $3 billion. That's abundance. Think about that. And I see a few comments of saying, oh, and about how about this, how about that. You can make as many arguments as you can, but think about the abundance. Focus on that, because that is the way to find any type of happiness in this life, to live in happiness. Because if we focus on lack, our minds are very powerful things. Our subconscious mind is very powerful as well. And if we focus on lack, our minds are creative even when we are not consciously creating. We're still creating. Our subconscious mind is still creating. So we create the lack in our lives. Hey, Holly says, beautiful shirt. I'm so glad. I'm glad you think so. Gary says, give a man the fish and you can feed him for a day. Teach a man how to fish and you can feed him for a lifetime. Yeah, one of my favorite sayings by Lao Tzu or Lao Tzu. George Bastilis, excuse me. Syl says, George Bastilis, A Curse Shared is an interesting read on consumption, abundance, and scarcity. Totally agree. I studied with one philosopher who would lecture exactly on what you say about wealth. Oh yeah, yeah. These ideas, I'm sure, are not original at all. They've been discussed for millennia. The universe is infinite. It is. Yeah. I mean, the literal universe is infinite. So, if we're infinite in space and if we're fairly infinite in time, in terms of like cosmic time and space, then who's to say there's no infinity in the practical, the real, the tangible things in our lives? As I evidenced, teosinte, tiny little plant, turned into a mega crop, a super crop. So if we can do that, we can do anything. I like your videos with special guests. Your Huntington, Long Island video was amazing, says Sarah. When are you having more videos with guests? Yeah, in Mexico, I'm at least going to feature one creator. His name is Yubish, and he runs Mexico Underground. So stay tuned. I'm so excited to feature him. So you're going to learn about a local Mexican tour guide. And stay tuned. June 9th, I will be collaborating with Discover Long Island, tourism board of Long Island, to cover an awesome town in Long Island. And I will be featuring the CEO of Long Island. She's a wonderful woman, really knows her stuff about Long Island. And it's going to be a similar episode to the Huntington episode. And if all works well, I'll probably become a recurring series, recurring special on Urbanist. So stay tuned. Once everything is finalized, I'll I'll let everyone know. And our friend Clifford, who's tuning in on Facebook, is going to appear on that special episode. So stay tuned as well. So Clifford will be back. Clifford, everyone give a round of hearts to Clifford. He was so awesome to produce the Huntington episode and to also produce the multicam episode in the Flatiron. And he is the guy who will be producing the Discover Long Island episode in this upcoming town. So stay tuned. I'll announce everything once we have everything finalized. So give a round of hearts to Clifford. He is helping urbanists go to the next level, at least with some type of shows. Of course, I'll always continue doing these solo walking shows. I deeply love doing those. But the world of content is infinite. The ability to make any type of show is infinite. Luckily, I don't need to, there's no gatekeepers on YouTube or on Facebook saying, no, you can't do this type of show. I can do any type of show if it's related to exploring cities. So stay tuned for more different shows, aside from what you already like, which is walking around and wandering or touring. Do you know anything about the history of the New Bridge Landing? No, Hackensack, New Jersey. No, I don't, Adam. I'll look into it. Hackensack. I don't know too much about Hackensack. Do Newark. It's changing. Yeah. You know, I might hit up my friend Manny to go to Newark. Stay tuned. Susan, hey Susan. Hope we're doing well. All right, I probably missed a lot of questions, so if you already had a question, feel free to ask again that question. Don't spam, but feel free to ask again that question. What is your favorite coffee brand in the market, not a coffee shop? Yeah, in the market, the favorite coffee brand. Oh well, I get my. No, okay. So right now, I really love Ground Central's Midtown Express coffee blend. They are a coffee shop, but they get their coffee from La Colombe. So La Colombe is right now my favorite coffee brand. You can get them, I think, in most shops right now in the US. At least most specialty shops like Whole Foods. In most major cities, I think in the US, you can find La Colombe. So check it out. Do you use any memorization skills when you research? No, but let me grab my notebook. I don't use any memorization skills. However, when it comes to telling history, the two things that are really tricky when it comes to history is dates and it's first and last names. You know, I can remember usually a last name. I just sometimes first names is a bit tough, and or names that are very foreign to me. So right now in Mexico, learning about Mexico, there's some names that are really foreign to me, like the god Huitzilopochtli. Huitzilopochtli. I luckily now remembered that because he's a very interesting character, but there's some weird names there. So I usually write them down. Or weird to me, foreign to me. So I usually write them down in a list. So here, I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you this one. So here's my notes from John Lennon's New York. So I wrote all the pertinent details about John Lennon's New York, specifically dates. Not too many names in this, but I had a quote. I also had another date right here. And I had locations. So I had to write down a location so I know which ones to go to. So that's what usually I carry with. And sometimes I rip the piece of paper and put it in my pocket and sometimes refer to it. Luckily, if I really am into the story, I just end up remembering it. It just comes into my mind. But yeah, that's how I do it. That's how I do it. That's all I do. So no, I don't have any memory practices. The reason I remember so well is because I talk about things I am fascinated by. So I focus on things that touch me on a heart level, on a deep level, on a gut level. And when you read something you're really fascinated by, it's a lot easier to remember it. If you're trying to, let's say if you're tasked with giving a presentation on something you're not really fascinated by, it gets a little bit harder. But luckily here on Urbanist, you're seeing basically things I'm fascinated by. And the reason I talk about things I'm fascinated by, A, it makes for a better show because I'm excited, I'm hyped up, I'm curious, and B, I just remember it better. So I can give you a better live video that's not edited, is not a big crew yet, or I don't have a teleprompter, even if I have a big crew. Even with working with Clifford, I'm not going to have a teleprompter because I don't want to do that. I don't have a second phone or anything to refer to a site. Because I love doing a live video that feels like a conversation. It feels like a walk in the park. And sometimes it's literally a walk in the park. But I love that. It's amazing. Have you ever been to China or Japan? No, have not. Do you go into deep introspection when you buy avocado toast? Yes, I do, Ronald. Yes. Every avocado toast is a moment to contemplate the nature of reality. Maybe our world or maybe our universe is one gigantic avocado. And the center is the womb, the seed that sprouts, giving life its buttery green goodness. I'm just spouting words to sound deep. What period of history of New York City intrigues you the most? I think the Gilded Age, which is 1870s to about 1910s, is really interesting. It's during a boom time in New York City. Grace Stalin says, Ariel, it is evident that you're guided from the level of the heart. You're a great role model for men. I'm glad. Yeah, especially a lot of men, at least in the, like New York society, from my personal experience, are not really guided by the heart too much. I met a few, but I haven't seen it be like the normal thing. And I hope more people, get down to their heart. Because I think a lot of people are afraid. They're afraid to talk about what they love. They're afraid to do what they love because they think they're going to be broke doing it. But no, generally the best things you can give to the world are the things that you love the most. Once your cup is full, and then you can let it overflow to others. So I think that's very important. I think it's important to take that risk. Because yes, you're going to go through the challenge of figuring out how can I give this the best way. For me, I definitely have that challenge. I've been doing this for 5 years. I have by no means have been able to, for a good chunk of that time, only until this past year, I've been able to fully depend, or not depend, but fully have income from these videos, from Urbanists. Only this past year. Someone earlier asked me, thank you for asking that question, has the pandemic been good to me? And does the Jewish elite finance LGBT directly, says Benevolence. Benevolence? No, I don't think so. I think LGBT are LGBT and Jewish people are Jewish people. Sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. But thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. But I do talk about Jewish American history, and I do talk about LGBT history. They don't explicitly overlap, but I assume some of the people I've mentioned in the videos are both Jewish American and LGBT. But yeah, what was I saying? I was saying a lot of people think that what they love won't make them any money. And for me, for a good chunk of time, Urbanist itself, the show, wasn't really making that much money. But I had to be creative. You know, before last year, before the pandemic, I had to find ways to offer what I am good at, what I like, what I love to do in a different way, because live videos weren't bringing that income. I couldn't monetize on Facebook. I had patrons, so luckily there was a little bit of income, but there was no monetization with the videos. There was really no way to make income directly from the videos as efficiently. So I had to improvise. But improvisation is a call for creativity. And Wendy says, "Oh my God, I'm crying right now." Oh, Wendy, I'm glad this conversation is touching you on a great level. So that said, I had to be creative. And how was I creative? I freelanced. I made videos for clients, for brands. I got a few awesome sponsors like Sennheiser. I end up making a few dance videos. I end up working with artists to film their concerts and film their music videos. Why did I do those things? Not merely to acquire money, because I knew I can film, I can edit, I love to do those things, I'm good at it, let me give it, let me offer it. And through that, it was a wonderful time because I learned to be a good service provider. When it comes to freelancing, it's not all about me either. It's not about me getting the best buck for the service I'm providing. It's about giving the best service to someone, and the bucks will follow somehow, some way. Do you ever work as an engineer? No. I worked as a tech support in Foursquare and Gawker Media, and then Gawker Media and also Curbed, I was community manager / social media manager. So no, I never worked explicitly in engineering, though I interfaced with engineers when I worked in the tech / media world. So I was basically the liaison between engineers, computer engineers, or computer programmers, and users / product developers. SJ says, great speech about abundance. Oh, I'm so glad you think so. Did you go to school for your training? No, I have zero schooling in film history. Well, history, I had college classes, like 2, like 3 college classes on history. But no, I have no formal education, neither history nor architecture nor film. Is that going to stop me? Oh no. I've had a few comments before saying, McCulley's, hey McCulley's, thank you so much for tuning in. So, yeah, your chat is working. I do see your chats. And the best product, says Clifford. Yeah, and the best product, offering the best product. Of course, always. Mighty Bull, thank you so much for a $5 super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Mighty Bull. So I've gotten a few comments of people saying, "Oh, why you talk about history? You're not qualified. You don't know any history. You're not a professor. How dare you?" Do you need to be qualified to do anything? As long as you're assuming the responsibility, I think you can do whatever you want. In terms of history, as long as I'm assuming the responsibility of learning, of reading, of knowing fairly well the gist of the stories and the dates and the locations. If I'm not purposely deceiving people, then the way I tell history is an amazing thing. It's not academic, it's not a journalist, but it's entertainment and it's fun. Same thing with film. If I'm not making a film and absolutely wrecking it and causing displeasure in others or a team, then film whatever you want to film. Pick up a camera and start making stuff if you want to. What's your real name? Says James. Ariel. Ariel is my real name. If you're passionate about it, why not? Right. Cliff has a great compliment. Says, along with your creativity and resourcefulness, your success is dependent on your gift. And you got it, says Cliff. Oh, thank you so much, Cliff. You as well. Thank you so much. Never let the fear of failure hold you back. Yeah, I mean, failure is fun. Failure is fun. I'll say it here. I'll drink to that. Failure is fun. You know why it's fun? Because failure teaches you a whole lot. And if you fail fast, you'll learn quickly. And you'll be able to innovate faster. Failure is a great opportunity to improvise. Oh yeah, and it's wonderful. That's why, watch my videos from 4 or 5 years ago. I had a few failures. Didn't stop me. Eating on camera is weird. It is weird, really. When you think about it, it's weird. And definitely it was weird in the beginning. But it didn't stop me. Kept on doing it. I've sometimes told a few stories where I really messed up. I just did not remember it well. And I just messed up the dates. I did an episode on Napoleon, and I just really messed up the dates with Napoleon. To the point where it was fortunately detrimental to the story I told. But hey, it sucks. I'm sorry I did that. But ain't gonna stop me. I'm gonna keep on telling stories. Because from that, I learned, hey, memorize those dates. Or hey, learn how to talk about food more compelling. Or hey, don't point the camera too much to yourself because people really want to see the city. Provide more value showing the city. So those are all learning opportunities. Sharon says he has so many shirts I cannot keep up with them. But your avocado tee sounds cool. Yeah, I don't have an avocado shirt. I have avocado socks, but I don't have an avocado shirt yet. I think a few people think I have an avocado shirt. I don't. But I gotta get one maybe one day. Picture is blurry, says Bernadette. Oh, Bernadette, might be on your end, maybe. You're correct, Ariel. Failure is how you learn. Pro tip, if you're ever watching my live videos and you have a bad connection, close off the other apps. Close off Spotify, or if you have Netflix on. If you're watching on YT, close off Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure to close off YT because they take a lot of data. And that way you limit the data that you're consuming, and that way you can see a video in better quality. Yeah. Pro tip for anyone who wants a better viewing experience. How do you spell the Mexican YouTuber? He runs a channel called Mexico Underground. Mexico Underground. His name is Ubich with a U. U-B-I-C-H. But he goes by Mexico Underground. Can you imagine how people look like based on what they write here? Yeah, I can, Judith. I can. I'm not sure if it's always going to be right. I've had a few times where end up meeting someone who is a viewer, and I didn't see their picture before, but I envisioned them, and it was spot on. It was spot on. That's happened to me a few times. A few times I've been like very, very off, and I end up like, oh wow, you're different. That sometimes has happened. So yeah, sometimes I just get intuitively a feeling of how you may look like behind the comment. I can't explain it. There's no logical explanation for it. It's intuition. But I'd say follow your intuition. Sometimes when someone tells you something and you can envision it, follow it. I've had instances where someone says, starts telling me a story, and I already see it in my mind's eye, and I'm like, oh, did you misplace that thing in your cabinet? And they'll be like, how did you know? I don't know. It just came to me. So follow your intuition in those regards. It's fun. Or their age. I can sometimes tell their age, yes. Was I what you were expecting, Panagiotis? Panagiotis, you are one of the people I envisioned, and I think I was pretty spot on. so I think I was pretty spot on. Do you have a favorite neighborhood in New York? Nolita and Soho, but Tribeca is quickly competing for my favorite spot. So I think Tribeca is quickly becoming my number one place. Ariel, guess me, Sunshine Girl. I look good, right? Says Paul. Paul, of course, you're devilishly handsome, Paul. Paul, you're devilishly handsome. Sunshine Girl, you're amazing. You look amazing, Sunshine Girl. Ooh, that thing you're wearing? Oh, wow, it looks great on you, Sunshine. Great. Keep doing that. It works, Sunshine Girl. What do you think of Greta Thunberg? I don't talk about politics, but I appreciate her spunk. She is a weirdly a very eloquent woman. I say weirdly because she's very young, and she speaks like a little adult. Maria says, describe me from your comments and chats. Maria, you're in telenovelas, right? You're definitely a telenovela star. I know that. Come on. What area of electrical engineering do you specialize in? No, I have a bachelor's, so there was not really a specialty. There was not really a specialty. Did you get an overview of YouTube where all your comments and chatters are from? Yeah, YouTube gives you data on location, age range, and device that people watch from. And basically that's it. That's basically the three things they say. Yeah. And it's metadata, so I can't like click on Fifi right here and sit and look exactly how old are you or where you're from. I can't do that. YouTube does not provide that information, and luckily, I'm glad they don't provide that information. They have that information. I'm not sure if they use it for other intents purposes. Facebook does. They sell it to advertisers. I think YouTube does the same thing. But at least on my end, it's only made metadata. Your chats are a great way for interaction. I really enjoy the honesty, says Duane. Oh, thank you, Duane. And someone sent the super chat. 50 stars. Thank you, Jay, for the 50 stars. Hola, Vero. ¿Ya listo para venir a Ciudad de México? Sí, estoy listo a ir a Ciudad de México. Estoy haciendo un poco de leyendo. Es un libro bien pequeñito de la historia de Ciudad de México. I'm doing some light reading for Mexico City, so yeah, I'm excited. So are you bringing any Broadway tickets for the planned reopening in September? Yeah, I would really love to go back to Broadway. So, yeah, I definitely do intend on going to a show. So, it might be Hamilton. I might go see Phantom of the Opera again. I don't know. What Broadway show would you go? Let me know in the comments. Which one would you go for the first time again once it reopens? Admit it. If YouTube didn't give that ability, you would be laughing out loud. Says Roland. It would be very weird. It would be very weird if I had that much data. Uh, if I had access to all that data, it would be weird. Now I know how Edward Snowden felt. It's weird. It's weird if you know too much about someone. It's weird. Thank God I don't work behind the scenes at Facebook. I don't want to have that access to that much information. So a few people have asked me about my friend Action Kid. My heart goes out to him. I hope he's okay. That said, I'll speak a little bit more general of Action Kid. Again, he's an amazing content creator, and he has a great gift for spreading joy and relaxation and curiosity to people as well. So I hope he continues sharing that gift in whatever fits best for him. But in any type of art form, there is danger, there is risks involved. Any type of art form, anything. Movies, there's risks. You're a stunt double, you risk. You're an actor, you risk. You're a journalist, you're at risk. You're a food vlogger, you're at risk. There's risk in all realms. It's up to the professional, your professional ability, creativity, ingenuity to either minimize those risks or creatively work around them. So that for me at least, I really love live streaming, and I've been lucky to always be safe and feel safe when I'm live streaming. Always, always been grateful for that, and I don't take that for granted in one little bit. But situations are different. The world is complicated. I am grateful from my experience. I've experienced good vibes in my videos. But you know how I look like. You know what language I speak. You know what city I'm in. So you be the judge as to why I have had easy time live streaming. That said, I'm not going to take it for granted, and I love live streaming. To me, it's a beautiful, beautiful medium to take advantage of, to explore, to take it to its very limit. It's a beautiful medium. It's a medium that is unlike video, unlike a vlog, unlike a documentary series. It is an amazing, amazing medium. And for me, I'm deeply invested in live streaming as an art form. So I will continually, at least for me, I'm determined to always find a way to live stream in the best way possible. That said, in my own artwork, in my own career, I always take the path of least resistance. And I encourage you to consider doing the same in your own field of work. It's a great way to live, in my opinion, to take the path of least resistance. Of course, step up to the challenges and creatively work around them. But if something's easier, just do it. Just do it. Just be easy. And for me, during New York, during the pandemic, It was a pandemic. I felt afraid to walk out in the streets because I was afraid of catching COVID, and I was with my family at the time, and I was afraid of spreading COVID to my family. Afraid. Afraid. It doesn't make me a lesser person to be afraid. So I improvised in that moment. I couldn't do live videos outdoors, so I did live videos indoors. And my Facebook followers can attest to that. And Marilyn, thank you so much for the $10 super chat. I appreciate you. So I did videos indoors. And my Facebook followers, this was before YouTube. That's what I did. I found a way to make exploration videos, history videos indoors. I did like lecture style. I took footage, old historical footage, and on live video, I narrated above it and talked about the history. I did like virtual tours. I did a bunch of different things. I made a documentary during the pandemic. And then when I felt a little bit more comfortable to even go outside, I did car tours. I was still afraid to walk outside, to take the train, to be around random strangers. I felt afraid during the pandemic. So I improvised and ended up doing car tours with my dad. And I'm absolutely grateful that that happened. It was a great opportunity because no matter how much I missed walking around, and no matter how much I was afraid that I may never be able, in the near future at least, I didn't know how long the pandemic was going to last. I didn't know if there was going to be some weird variant that was going to make it deadly for people my age. That has happened before with the flu of 1918. The flu of 1918, the first wave, was relatively harmless for people around their 20s and 30s. But that second wave, it was extremely harmful for people in their 20s. The average death was between the ages of 27 and 42, around there, for the flu of 1918. I did not know at that moment, during the pandemic, the height of it, whether that was going to happen and I was going to really be stuck at home, or worse, get sick and die. So I just did the car tours. I could have wept. I could have sulked in like, oh, poor me. I can't walk out and about and make content in the middle of the city. But I seized the opportunity to do car tours with my dad, and it was absolutely beautiful to do so. It was a great way to bond with him. It was a great way to share my love of my content with him and do an amazing thing together. So improvise. And whatever you do, there's going to be risks in whatever you do. Improvise. That's the best I can say. That's what I'm going to do, at least. Always be improvising. Maria says everyone's experiences are different and people will make decisions based on their needs and experiences. I respect this decision, but life is a risk. Nothing comes easy. Thanks for this. Yeah, right. Thank you. Thank you, Maria, for the $10 super chat. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Yeah, everyone's experiences are different. But I think there's also a lot of responsibility in not trashing the entire, not saying that anyone has done so, but I've seen this happen in the media where crime rose during the pandemic here in New York, and there was a protest happening in New York City, and on the news they outright said that New York was a place of full anarchy. Outright they said that that New York was over, our very president at the time wanted to pull funding completely from the entire state and the city, completely leave it out in the dust. And this has happened before in the 70s. So I think there's a danger of sometimes trashing something full. You know, everyone goes through their tough times, but doesn't mean the entire thing is bad. Thank you for being. I hope you stay a long time. I have a view outside the Netherlands. Oh, cool! I can't wait to go to the Netherlands. I'm really deeply excited to go to the Netherlands. The last pandemic ended in 3 years? Yeah, I think so. I think it was about like 2 years, a little bit more than 2 years, I think. I did a few history videos on it. I did like one history video on it. Thanks, Ariel. Your videos in the pandemic help a lot of people. I'm so glad. Pandemics are very sad events, but they truly shift societies. Right, no hay mal que por bien venga. Joseph says, there's never bad for good comes of it. Yes. Joseph, sí, yo sí estoy de acuerdo de eso, sí. Siempre hay algo bueno que puede venir del mal. There's always something good that can come from the bad. There's always something one can learn to be better, to do something better. Cover of the Daily News in 1978. Ford to New York City, drop dead. Right. So this has happened before, where a place, organization, or a person is going through tough times, and media says it's done. Screw them. Like, come on. I love your videos and your Spanish. Oh, I'm glad, Eric. Thank you for your dad driving us around. Yes, indeed. You helped an awful lot of people during the pandemic. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad, Kay. All New York City streamers got different qualities, from food to history, etc. Right, indeed. If it weren't for COVID, I don't think I would have found you amongst others. I like your pink kiwi shirt, says Kurihara. Okay. one day I'll wear it again. Stay tuned. It was a comfort to me, and I'm sure to others, says Susie. Oh, I'm so glad, Susie. Yeah. I think so. I think so. I think so. I think there's different moments where one is called to action. So in the pandemic, doctors, nurses were called to action. If you were a nurse, you had to step up to the plate because it was the time to do so. Natural disaster called for it. In essence, the pandemic was also a call to action to live streamers and to entertainers. Because a lot of people were stuck at home. Some people were really stuck at home and really were afraid of going outside. And I saw as a call to action to show outside when I felt more comfortable doing so. And I took that call to action. And I think this happens in anything. You could be a gardener, you could be a painter, you can be a muralist, you can be a model, you can be anything, mathematician. There's going to be moments in time, moments in your personal life, and moments in global existence that's going to be a call to action. And when that call happens, if you are able to step up to the call, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. And for me, I felt worth it. I could have stopped live streaming. easily. Easily. I could have sulked in pain and wallowed in sadness and fear, and say, "Oh no, I can't no way provide entertainment. How dare I provide entertainment to others? How dare I uh, walk around when people can't?" But that's precisely why people would want to watch. Because at that specific moment in time, people couldn't walk outside. They couldn't step up outside their own door. They couldn't interact with their family or with their friends. So that was the time to go out. I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm a professional in entertainment. So if I gotta do something, I'm gonna do it well. I'm gonna take the time, I'm gonna take that call to action and do it. It's that. You can say that's just vain if you believe entertainment has no value. That's on you. That's not on me. That's your worldview. And millions of people, billions of people disagree with you. But that's okay. Everyone has different vibes. But to me, entertainment is powerful. So as a professional, I will take that call and do it well. Just like a pilot, if a pilot is tasked with flying an airplane, and in that airplane, a flock of seagulls hits the engine, and the engine goes down, you are called to bring down that airplane, to land it to safety in whatever means possible. And you, as a pilot, you're trained for that. To save both your passengers and to not harm anyone else on the ground level. So you have to land that plane. It's no time to wallow in sadness. It's no time to say, "Oh, poor me." It's no time to curse the world for giving you these challenges. Because if you do, you might have failed in your own professional endeavor. So do it. And yes, I'm alluding to Sully. So yeah, if a pilot can drive a plane in those terrible circumstances, an entertainer can provide entertainment during a global disaster. So yeah, do what you can. I'm an entertainer. I'm not a doctor, so I am not going to pretend that I'm saving lives with my bare hands, but I'm providing good quality entertainment. That is as powerful as anything else in the greater scheme of things. The gardener who makes a beautiful garden is as powerful as anything else. It's beautiful. Do you ever think life will return back to normal? It will, Melody. I disagree with all the headlines saying that we are in a new normal. I disagree with that. Human beings cannot survive without social interaction. Human beings cannot survive without community. Human beings are about social interaction. Think about this. What happens when you are grieving because you lost someone, right? You maybe a spouse or a parent or a child. That'll probably be one of the worst things, of course. I am grateful I haven't experienced those things, but I can imagine. What happens? What happens when you lose someone? You can't eat. You can't drink. It's the least thing that you care about. It feels like life is ending. And that's an indicator that water and food are secondary in a way, and that love, connection, is truly the primary thing in our lives. Without that, we are truly dead. So we need that community. There's no way we're going to have a new normal and sacrifice it. Otherwise, that is a death sentence for all humanity. Plans for travel after Mexico? Yeah, Michael, great question. Maybe. Oh yeah, not maybe, definitely. I just haven't made any finalized plans, but I do have a Patreon goal of 75. With that Patreon goal, we will be visiting a tropical city. Tropical city might involve, yeah, it's gonna be a city in the tropics. One city in the tropics. So yes, that's definitely in the top of mind. And then beyond that, I hope UK and or Ireland open up soon. So the moment one of those open up, I'll be going to them first. So stay tuned in the summer. Maybe you didn't save my life, but you sure helped save my sanity. And I thank you for that, says Nancy. Oh, my pleasure, Nancy. My pleasure. And we have... Do you think we have to adjust and make it normal? We have the power to do so by staying positive. Yeah, I don't think we have to adjust. I think it's a call for humanity to find a way to connect, to share in open spaces, to party again, to drink together, to go to a show, a Broadway show together. Be creative, improvise. I'm not a theater runner, but if I were, I would make a theater where it was open airflow. I would literally open that theater up, maybe make a retractable roof, and somehow have it so it'll be open to the air, so there'll be proper airflow and have very good ventilation. I would do that if I were a theater owner. Broadway or movies. And we'll offer that as an alternative. Because there's a global pandemic happening on. A global pandemic that thrives in poor airflow. In indoor places with poor airflow. So why not improvise and do something different? Make a rooftop theater. Make a drive-through, drive-in theaters. Yeah, that's one way to make it work. Make it work. Make it work. Like Tim Gunn says, make it work. You could say it's easier said than done, but hey, we got all this immense technology at our fingertips. We have all this wonderful technology. We have all the construction materials in the world. Construction materials right now, almost across the entire world, are cheaper than they were 20, 30 years ago. They're cheaper now. So it doesn't cost more to construct. We were not lacking in technology. We have technology. We're not lacking in creativity. We have creativity. Let's do it. For me, at least, in live streaming, I'm using my phone. Walk around places. I'm taking a device that most people use to just consume media, to just go about their daily lives, chatting with friends, texting people, Snapchatting. I took this device in order to make videos. In order to bring so much abundance to my own life and so much joy to my own life and to others. A phone, a tiny little phone, end up doing that. That's amazing. Hey, John says, hello, how are you? I'm doing well, John. What is the best book you've read recently? Says Argus. I'm really in love with this book. La Capital, the biography of Mexico City. This is a non-fiction history book, and it's written like a novel. Hi, Tao. Nice to see you here. Ian says, there's hyperinflation now. As a result, there's so much money printed. Yeah. I mean, and we gotta apply human ingenuity to our economy. We gotta apply human ingenuity to providing more food to others. We gotta be creative. We gotta improvise. We gotta stop wallowing and sulking and being angry and pointing fingers. Let's be ingenious. And that could apply to providing food to others, to providing health, to providing housing, to providing better communities, to providing better connection. There's so many ways that we can be creative. And a lot of people say, oh, that's easy for you to say. Well, I'm being creative in my own endeavors, which is entertainment. Be creative in yours. If you're an engineer, be creative as an engineer. If you're a gardener, be creative as a gardener. Garden the best garden you can. Make, Pete Altloff made one of the most beautiful gardens in the world, which is the High Line. He innovated. He was in charge of taking an abandoned railroad track with overgrown with plants and somehow making it beautiful. Like, that is impressive. If he innovated as a gardener and brought so much joy and pleasure and peaceful relaxation to others walking the High Line, you can do it in whatever realm you are. If you are a data scientist, innovate as a data scientist. If you're a tax accountant, innovate as a tax accountant. Innovate, whatever way you can. Do you agree if you eat a lot of lechon, you will stop aging, sis? I don't know that. Yes, I think that's accurate. I think yes. I think the key to eternal life might be a lot of lechon. a lot of grease. A lot of grease might be the key to eternal life. Darlene, I answered that question. You can refer about 10 minutes back. The power of the phone, very powerful tool you have. Okay, so if you asked the question that I missed, I'm gonna stick around 10 more minutes. Ask that question right now if I missed it. I'm gonna go back and see if I missed any other questions. What's your favorite neighborhood in New York City? I already answered that. Tribeca and Nolita. Sadly didn't get to the High Line last time. Oh no! You were correct in giving yourself. Yes. Well said, says Maria. I'm glad you think so. One foot in front of the other. Right, Susan. Do you think Edward Hubbard really is the best, or just a bag of potato chips? Edward Hubbard. I don't know who Edward Hubbard is. Are you referring to Ron Hubbard, the writer of Scientology? He's a fascinating guy. I one day will do a video on him if I go when I go to LA. I don't agree with him, but he is a fascinating historical figure. But I don't know who Edward is. I hope you have something booked for Mother's Day. What's your favorite film genre? Sci-fi. Superhero movies are right now my favorite film genre. Absolutely love superhero movies. Open air cinemas are the best. I agree, 100%. Ooh, like Shakespeare Theater. Oh, yes. Do you think people who want to travel but don't have wanderlust? Do you think there are people who want to travel but don't have wanderlust? Yes. I think it's overrated. This sense that you have to explore new places. Go to the most exotic realms of like Papua New Guinea or have a huge backpack and go hiking to the mountains of New Zealand. You don't need to do that. If you want to travel to New Jersey, go travel to New Jersey. If you want to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, go do Lincoln, Nebraska. If you want, like me, if you want to stick to London for like a few months, do London for a few months. Travel the way you want to. It's beautiful. If you consider getting out of your home and going to the next borough, do that. Don't let others define travel and wanderlust to you. Do what you want to do and do it the way you want to do it. Travel the way you want to. If you want to stay in a big city and not go to any of the museums, literally stay in the big city and just sip coffee and people watch, do that. Do that. Don't let anyone judge you for that. Travel the way you want to. I can hear the Urbanist album playing in the background. I'm loving it. Yes, the Urbanist album is playing in the background. Again, if you ask any questions, feel free to ask again. Where are you going in Europe once the doors reopen? For you, you'll be going back to Paris, says Lynn. Oh, that's so cool. I love Paris. I will be going to the UK and Ireland first, and then probably second would be Germany for me. I really want to visit my friend Yusuf and explore more of Germany. Sounds interesting. So, but UK and Ireland would be number one. Is number one. What are your favorite walker bloggers? You know, to be honest, I don't really watch walker vloggers. I appreciate my colleagues. I love the work that they do, but I really don't watch them. But I appreciate what they do. If anyone has ever seen the film Midnight in Paris, there's a conversation with Hemingway, and Owen Wilson's character asks Hemingway if he can read his book, and he says, "I don't want to. Either I read it and I am going to hate it, or I read it and I'm going to be so jealous I'm going to tell you I hate it." I don't agree exactly 100% with Hemingway, but I'm focused on making walking videos, so I usually don't watch other walking videos. But I do appreciate my colleagues doing so and doing their thing and doing it well. But people I enjoy is Aya Vlogs, Action Kid does a great job, New York City Walking Show. But for people who you don't know of that haven't collaborated with here in New York City, one of the few walking vloggers I do watch is John Dobb, Only in Japan Go. That guy is probably one of the best live streamers I've seen. He truly is innovative in live streaming. Really interesting guy. Hope to meet him one day. It's a counter narrative to professionals keeping up with the work of their colleagues, says Ian. Yeah, it just is not my thing. You know, I wrote my first sci-fi novel. I don't read sci-fi novels. I don't care for sci-fi novels. I like movies, but I don't care for reading sci-fi novels. But I'm gonna write them anyway. Yeah, just like in a bunch of different things. I like Tokyo Explorer for Japan. Oh, that's so cool. Greece is amazing food. Oh, amazing. I think we're opening up at the beginning of September for travel. That's awesome. Okay, that's good. Good time for the cardigan. Will you ever go to Iceland? Yes, 100% we'll go to Iceland at some point. And hot wines in Germany. Oh, I can't wait to try that. Montana is a great state. Ooh, I can't wait to go. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. That was such a wonderful conversation. All of you asked very interesting questions. I hope you enjoyed it. Is Doctor Who still a sci-fi show? I think so. I don't watch too much Doctor Who, but I really enjoyed the lore. I can't wait to visit Cardiff and go to the museum and show the sets. Thank you everyone so much for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow, Saturday at 1 p.m. Keep being awesome and always keep on exploring. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.